We have this beautiful love, uh, just big and beautiful, that as I look out the kitchen window, it's just lit up and you can see it. And I'm sitting here. We planted some new plants in it, and I just was checking on them and sitting in the setting sun with the cats. We did a little walk, and I was brought back to yesterday. And it was, what if the message was, what if this detour is to your destiny? What if this road closed is leading you to this place and space beyond anything you've ever imagined? So I had stepped out of my powwow yesterday, and I was singing my heart song, and it was just this hum, and it was just a sound chamber of this beautiful music that was coming through. And I didn't realize how long I had been doing it, but it was probably a half hour, 45 minutes later. I'm just doing whatever I was doing, my morning routines, putting all my sips together. And every day after my barefoot sunrise and watering the flowers, then I'll come in and I'll make all my rainbow sips, my repeats for the day. It was kind of turned into this whale song, heart song of the whale. And I connected with this grandmother whale. And it's rare that you can see whales in this area, but it does happen, and it's a big deal. And I was called to go to the water. Spoiler alert, I did not see a whale, but I was called to go to the water. So I asked my husband, who happened to have the day off, if he could do a little drive about and take me down to the water. The weather wasn't turning out super great, so we kind of put some warmer clothes on. And I hadn't had long sleeves on for a couple months now. And it was just to be cozy and to be warm. It was just this beautiful feeling. I turned on like the seat warmer in the car, and the sun really hadn't quite come up yet. So as we were driving, we know the way. It's consistent. It's a beautiful view. The first sign was road work ahead, and it had all the cars slowed down. And the message in the morning, I guess that's important. The message in the morning was to hold the light, hold your joy. Could you sustain joy all day long? And what would you need to do that? And how do you ward off the killjoy? Like, what kills your joy? How do you ward that off? And how do you stay in joy all day long? So first we get the road work ahead, and all the traffic moves down to one lane. And this was just right as we were getting kind of to the sound and to the water. And then we drive a little bit further, and we get closer to our destination, and we see the first detour sign. And this was just supposed to be a simple, let's get there, spend some time. I want to put my feet in the water. And then we had other things that had to get done that day. So we get the detour sign, and the detour sign let us know that the road was closed up ahead, was the next sign. So we get to the road closed sign, and this was the road, the only road we knew to get to the water, because it's a park. To get to the water, how else would we get there? So we start following the detour sign. And the detour sign took us completely out of the park, down a few streets, all the way around an area we'd never been through, and we lived in this area. And it was just kind of, you got a little comical. Like, would you lose your joy at the slowdown of the road work ahead? Would you get frustrated or lose joy at the road closed or the first detour sign? And as you get through the sixth detour sign, keep following the detour signs. Have you lost your joy then? Are you frustrated? Are you annoyed? as we're driving, I started just to laugh because it was just like, this is, a very simple drive is now not so simple. And it took us a really kind of far way along the way. And there were signs for that with closed off parking. So there was a lot of signs, a lot of detours, a lot of no parking, a lot of closed roads. And as I just started to be present, to not allow anything to kill my joy, I see a sign for solstice assisted living. So for 55 and older. And that brought me to, oh my gosh, tomorrow the solstice portal opens up. And then as we're driving, there was a Universe coffee sign. And it was just like, okay, well, here, along with all of our other signs, here's some signs. So as we take the detour, it takes us around on roads we'd never been on, some beautiful scenery. It opens us up into the backside of the park, which we'd driven past the closed barriers, but we never knew where it went. And here we are, it opens us up into the park. And then we follow more detour signs, more construction going on, one ways, or having to stop at the construction stop sign, the sign, waiting for it to the gentleman to turn it. And we get down to the water, and it was pretty peaceful. And so as we get down to the water, my inner part of me is like, oh, I hope I see a whale. And the water is filled with small fishing boats, so it must be fishing season. So we get down there, and of course the tide is out, and so the walk to the water was so much longer and farther than I had expected, and it was having to go downhill, knowing that I would have to come back up the hill. So to get to the water, to put my feet in the water, there were all of these obstacles that were standing in my way of doing that. And then on top of it, it's questioning, do I want now, once we're here, do I have the steps to take to get myself to the water? So we took my wheelchair as far as we could, and then my husband helped me walk all the way down. And in Washington, our beaches are not soft and sandy. They are hard. There are tons of little tiny rocks. So I get down to the water, I put my feet in, I get myself situated, I kind of dig them down to get a softer spot. And then all the waves start coming in from all the passing boats, and I'm just grounding, opening my pillars, opening my intuitive channel, opening the Akashic records, breathing, just breathing, connecting, grounding, and bringing forth the message that I was asked to deliver when I was asked to go there. And then being open to receive. And a few minutes to standing there, the tide must have been going out, because then I was no longer in the water. And it's like, okay, well, this is not going to kill my joy. I'm going to take a few more steps. And then every few minutes I would have to do that. I would have to step further and further and further into the water, down this, decline to keep my feet grounded into the water. And the whole time it was this challenge, like, do you still have your joy? Are you still in joy? Has anything killed your joy? And I wouldn't allow it, but being present into it, there are so many moments throughout our day, just the little things that could kill our joy, that could take us out of the frequency of joy, that could take us out of our vibration and the higher frequencies. And it was so raw and honest, and I could have got frustrated. I could have said no. I could have said I don't have the steps for that. But then what? I get down there, and every few steps I would move closer and closer into the water, further and further into the water, further and further away, more steps to take, higher incline to climb. But as I finally found this moment of grounding, and I just got to take it all in, the messages that came through were, You are one drop of water in the body of consciousness. As you connect your drop with all the other drops, you are oneness and you are unity. And then it was that we each are riding different waves of ascension. And when you get to the shore, you don't know who has come before you and who's after you. You just know that you have arrived. And that was the message: you have arrived. And that all the messages that played out throughout the next day, that day, yesterday and today, it was just reminding you that you don't know what's ahead, and you don't know who's ahead or who's behind. You just know that you have arrived. And then what does that look like for you? And joy, the frequency of joy, living your life in joy, knowing that, keeping the open heart, trust and surrender, that your detour is leading you to your destiny, and that arrival to the shore is not always going to be bliss and love and light, that you have to keep your vibration, you have to keep your frequency. And one drop of healed water could does heal an entire ocean. One drop of healed water heals an entire ocean. And as I stood there as that one drop and offered our cosmic celestial pillar and pulsated out the waves of alchemy, the waves of love, of transmutation, of transcendence, you were placed within this hug of the grandmother whale and all of the dolphins and turtles and seals, and we had a jellyfish that joined us and just kind of floated nearby, wouldn't get too close, was carried out further and further with the tide. And I must have cut myself on one of the rocks, and so I had when I would took my foot out of the water, I had blood on my foot. And it brought us back. That's when the message came that one drop of healed water can heal an ocean. And your energy, your being, your essence is that drop. Your energy of your frequency of joy, your frequency of love, your frequency of gratitude. When you raise your frequency, you are changing that of the collective. And now is the time, and you have arrived. And all the other messages that came with it is that what if this is you've arrived at your highest timeline, and you look around and you are not impressed by it. The clear kind of truth bombs that were coming through is like, well, you designed it. You thought it through your thoughts, your actions, your words. And if you don't like it or you are unimpressed by it, then change it. And what if you are waiting in the waiting room for your highest timeline to be ready? And then you get there and you're unimpressed. Well, you create the impression. It's your visualization, it's your manifestation. So if you don't like it, change it. Break the glass ceiling. That was the other one. And then it was kind of like, well, what if you're in the entry, like the elevator is coming, your elevator of evolution, your glass elevator is arriving, and you're at the bottom floor waiting to be taken up into your highest timeline. And like, how far will you go? How far will you dream? And it's telling us to break the glass ceiling, to dream bigger, to reach higher, set bigger and higher goals, and visualizations and manifestations, because anything is possible. So as we walked back up that incline, well, my husband kind of pulled me most of the way, and then we got to the top and we sat on a log. And it was interesting that if we had chosen to come 12 hours later, we would have sat on that same log with our feet in the water and wouldn't have had to go very far. But this journey, we wouldn't have experienced all that we experienced if we had just timed it so perfectly instead of trust and surrender. So we leave the park. We decide to go to this kind of little hole in the wall place that my husband had seen in his work travels. And it was just like this little tiny kind of shack behind a convenience store that had fish and chips. And we go there, mind you, multiple detours and closed roads to get us back on track. We get there and we pull up, and when it should be opened, there's a sign on the door that said closed for vacation, kind of like a gone fishing sign. And we just laughed. We just thought, okay, well, this is what our day is. Could that have frustrated us even more? Now you're hungry and you want to, you have things to do and the place is closed. But it was just good for them for closing their restaurant and taking that break and that vacation and going fishing. And as we left there, and then we followed the route that would have taken us to the freeway to take us home, there was another road closed detour sign. So we're taking another detour. And by this time we are just laughing. How many more can we have? And in the end, we got home. In the end, we got where we needed to be, but we had now experienced all these different, we went a different way. And the best part is that way actually took us right past we met on a blind date when I was a junior in high school. It took us past the apartments of the friend that we met at, where we met. And it was Pearl. It was Pearl Apartments. And we both got to reminisce. Oh, that little guy just got me again. We got to reminisce on how far we've come. And this year we will be celebrating our 28th wedding anniversary, and we've been together for 31 years. So we wouldn't have gone that way. If it wasn't for those detours and closed roads and all the different places we needed to go and change, we would never have been in that moment. And that was pretty special. Hold your joy, hold the light. And what will that take for you to do that? What is it going to require for you to hold joy all day long? What needs to shift or detour for you to remain in the presence, to hold the light? And if we can't hold joy all day long, how do we hold light all day long? We're really being challenged to hold the light, to be the light, to allow the light to illuminate through us, to stay in joy and love, to show up authentically. Those really high vibrations, gratitude, self-forgiveness, really weaving those frequencies and energies into your heart song. Beautiful. And don't let anything kill your joy. That's the goal. We can do this. And to know that your detours may lead you to your destiny. And those road closed are opening up bigger doors and bigger opportunities for you. So continue to trust, surrender, relax, let go, trust and surrender. And there is really a lot of magic happening in the making. And you are in the waiting room, or you're waiting for your elevator of evolution to arrive, and you got this. You got this.